Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Bear With Us podcast. We are all back once again. We got Aiden, Nick, and Austin. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great, man. It's good to be back. How about you guys?
Feeling good. Feeling real good.
It's nice to be sitting in some AC rather than swimming in sweat. It's hot everywhere in the Midwest. So anybody who's really listening to this is probably feeling the same thing we all are. It's just downright nasty outside. I don't know. That's probably the best way to put it. You know, you could walk outside and cut the humidity with a knife. That's still you got a problem. Fat guy like me don't survive very well out there in these elements.
It is not fat man weather.
It is not fat man weather. Fat man weather is November through March. That's where I thrive. People call me crazy, but anyways, enough about the weather. We're here to talk about some Bears mini camp. I honestly didn't think we'd have a whole lot to talk about this week, but today just came in a fury of things to just kind of go over real quick in this half hour, 45 minutes or so. But I think the most notable one, we'll kind of take it around the table here, but obviously the big news of the day, if you want to call it that, you could probably kind of see the writing on the wall as the OTAs went on, but Robert Quinn did not show up to mandatory minicamp. And then there's the rumblings have kind of been there all off season long about him wanting to be traded. And I get it. And from my thought is, the Bears aren't going to be that team that's going to be competing for a Super Bowl this year, obviously. And Robert Quinn is 32 years old, coming off an 18 sack season. He wants to probably play for a Super Bowl contender because, he's not the same guy he's going to be from his younger years. So, we'll go around the horn here, but Austin, I guess your thoughts. I'm fully in, like, if you can get something back for Robert Quinn camp, do it. But I'll take it around to you guys. What do you guys think about the Robert Quinn not showing up the mandatory mini camp today?
Well, if we're going around the horn, then who's giving out the points? What's our scoring system look like? A little ESPN
69 points for everybody who answers.
All right, let's go. I didn't know that mandatory minicamp was happening, so
points for Keeney. Points for Keeney.
My only thing is, would it kill Robert Quinn to like show up and say like, oh, my hamstring is tight, I can't work out today, just to give the team a little bit of leverage before we try and trade him? I think this is where we were going the whole way anyway.
Yeah. Like there's like the holdout within the holdout, like you could show up and still hold out by like you're saying is just like not practice and do anything, just like, oh, I'm hurt. But I don't know. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. This was actually one of the topics, we talked about as a hypothetical on the first episode down the line. And now obviously it's kind of happening, still, obviously we do this as Bears fans, and the fan in me is disappointed. He's one of the best players on the team, had an incredible, year last year, but it makes a lot of sense. I don't blame him, and I certainly wouldn't blame the Bears for obviously trading him. And, I think at this point, it's just all about what kind of value can you get back. And I know we discussed some numbers and, potential last time. I think something like a second round pick, I don't expect it, but I think it would be a home run. And I think that's something that would make me feel a lot better. Obviously, the draft already happened this year, but at least you have that stashed, and you can get a day one guy in rounds, obviously 1 and 2, often 3 as well, that can really, kind of contribute from the early going in the rookie year. So I think it's a lot about value to me. I'm still disappointed, but I don't blame Quinn. He's not going to have another year like that, which technically I know, some tweets were about it that helps the Bears as his value could be pretty high right now, but we'll have to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, and I kind of was, seeing some stuff bounce around Twitter. You can look anywhere, but like, some of the guys in the Monsters Midway chat, if you will, they said something about, getting a 3 or a 4. And I feel like that's probably more realistic route at this point in time. Because without him actually coming into a season and playing and like generating, let's say 10 sacks before the trade deadline, it's probably not going to reach much higher than a third if you really think about it. So, even then, like a third, you might have to think about it for a guy that really doesn't want to play for the Bears at this point in time. His mind could change. And I don't think he hates the Chicago Bears by any means. And he probably holds no ill will against, Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, but it's just the nature of the team makeup right now where they're just, they're a team right now. We don't know what they're going to be. I mean, they could surprise a lot of people and find themselves in wild card contention. We don't know. I mean, it's just the coaching could take them a long ways, but as of right now, it stands where the way he's looking at it too is that this team is not going to win a Super Bowl, and he probably wants to play for a team that's going to win a Super Bowl. But Aiden, how about you?
Yeah, I think to kind of touch on what you said, if he doesn't want to be here, then there's no point in him being here. And we're definitely not a Robert Quinn away from a Super Bowl. So from the Bears perspective, I think if you get any value for him, that's better than anything. So if we're lucky enough to get a second or third round pick, that's a big step forward, I think, for the future.
And I don't know if you guys saw a whole lot of, some of the names that were popping out from camp today, but a name that people kind of have started poking around and talking a lot about is Carson Taylor. He's that undrafted free agent from Northern Arizona that they invited to their mini camp to start, and then they ended up actually signing him to a deal not long afterwards. And today it sounded like he ran with the number 2 defense, and which Tevin Jenkins is now the right tackle for the number 2s on the offensive line, and actually got demolished by this Carson Taylor on a couple of pass rushing drills. So I don't know if you want to say that's good for Carson Taylor or, you can worry about Tevin Jenkins, but we're going to talk about the offensive line a little bit later. But I mean, some other names that along with Carson Taylor popping up, is Charles Snowden from last year's undrafted rookie free agent class. He played at Virginia, a guy that was probably a draftable grade the year prior in the draft, broke his ankle, had ankle surgery. So he was kind of out of the draft process that way, but the Bears have him there. And then obviously Tashawn Gibson. And then I'm blanking on the name, but the guy that they drafted from Miami, Ohio. Oh God, I'll have to look it up. But the guy that was a wide receiver before, now a defensive end, they're very high on as well. So not a great list, but some guys that have some potential upside. I mean, I don't know if you guys have your eyes on some of those defensive ends there, but I mean, without the Robert Quinn, obviously the Bears could use him, but a lot of things are going to be happening here between now and the first game.
I like Gibson a lot, honestly, and I think I kind of like some of the raw ability of the guy that used to play wideout, obviously from Miami of Ohio. Like you said, you're not going to necessarily replace the quality of production initially from a Robert Quinn, but multiple guys, they're really turning this whole team around. And it's interesting to see because I think in terms of my fandom, this is really one of the few times I've felt like it's kind of a full, monumental, kind of purposeful rebirth of a team. Obviously, they've struggled plenty of years throughout our lives and our fandom, but it's felt like they just kind of throw things together often. And this feels like a legitimate process, which is why I think Poles has gained a lot of my trust already. Yeah,
I'm right there with that. But Keeney, you look like you have a thought.
Yeah, Dominique Robinson, the name of the guy from Miami, Ohio. Mm-hmm. So I like him just because, of course I'm going to trust whatever they say about the draft on TV, right? Those guys are never wrong. Everyone's like, oh, this guy could have gone as high as the 3rd round. The Bears took him in the 5th. So kind of, got to love the athletic potential. Eberflus is a defensive coach. I'm going to trust that, we got a lot of defensive players that we picked in the draft, and he's going to know what he wants to do with them. So if we've got a small school kid in here from Northern Arizona who's, looking great and could maybe be a rotational pass rusher, even play special teams, great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Dominique Robinson, I mean, for a guy that we can all compare to as Iowa State people, he reminds me a little bit of Will McDonald. I mean, I think Will McDonald's a little more refined, but Will McDonald is really great at getting to the quarterback, and Dominique Robinson on his tape, at least, on some of these pass rushes that they do show and what we can find of this tape, he looks really good at getting around tackles and making an impact in the backfield towards the quarterback. Where he struggles is a little bit of stopping the run and playing in that run game, just something that he's going to have to obviously develop at the NFL level, because it's going to be a whole different caliber than playing in the MAC. So, just something to keep an eye on. And I'm sure, like you said, with Eberflus, you got to trust him with these defensive guys everywhere he's gone. He's gotten the most out of some guys that just don't really have that, the name power. And I mean, he's developed guys as well. So this is a developmental guy, Dominic Robinson. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on that one, but it's going to become development by fire if Robert Quinn is not there to start the season.
Well, we're on the subject of Dominic Robinson.
Yep.
He actually started off as quarterback.
Oh, okay. So
and
quarterback
then
to wide receiver.
Yeah, he was class of 2017. He was the number 59 dual threat quarterback in the country. So,
what were his offers?
All it has is Miami of Ohio.
Wow.
Doesn't have any other interest on his 24/7 profile, but
get with it, Nick. Come on, update that profile. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Nick,
sure.
Do you have the power to just create some offers for him just to make it look like he was really good?
It better have that he's at least on the Bears now. Is it that updated?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's like a retroactive crystal ball to Iowa State. It's like, oh, Matt Campbell really liked him.
Yeah, Campbell offered him, but it just didn't quite work out. Didn't have room in the quarterback room.
Is he like from Oxford or something? Why Miami, Ohio, the only one? I think sometimes they'll list like FCS offers too. That's kind of.
He's from Canton, Ohio.
Okay.
I don't know how far that is from.
And hopefully he ends up there one day as well.
Well, that would work out just great.
Yeah.
End up where it all started. If that were to happen, then I just crown polls right now. Get a Hall of Fame guy in the 5th round. We'll take it and run. I mean, I think you could probably look it up, and there's probably plenty of 5th rounders that ended up in the Hall of Fame, but.
Not that I've been a quarterback and then a receiver in the defensive end, though.
No, he might be the first one. He might be the first one. So you guys got any more final parting shots on the Robert Quinn stuff, or we're just kind of, let the chips fall. I think I'm there. Let the chips fall where they may. If he plays for the Bears, great. If he doesn't, then hopefully you get something in return on it. It's kind of where I'm sitting with it.
Yep.
I think it's kind of where we have to be at this point. Like I said, as much as the fan in me would love to keep him, and he was really fun to watch, throughout the year, especially when there was maybe some hope that, the Bears would get to the postseason. But I think that's time. The building blocks kind of have to be set, and we'll roll with the punches.
And just one final thought on it too. But I was feeling really okay with, obviously the Bears didn't have Khalil Mack healthy for most of the season last year, and Robert Quinn kind of picked up the slack, and Sean Gibson played pretty well on the other end, and some other rotational guys there that they got by and had a pretty solid defense for all things considered last year with all the injuries and non-tackling things that were happening. So, they were still a top 10 defense at the end of the day. And if Robert Quinn is there, they're probably going to be pretty decently solid, and you want to have him there because, as this offense develops, because we'll get into it a little bit here shortly, but they're going to need to make some stops and create some short field for this offense to kind of really find their way. So I think that's a good segue. I think we got an offensive problem. Still, it sounds like the days that the media has been allowed to be inside these OTAs and camps at Bears practice, the offense has not been great. Now, Matt Eberflus has said that, on days that they're not there, and he could just be saying that just to keep everybody kind of calm. But at this point, you almost have to believe him, but that they've been practicing well. Just they're struggling in certain areas. So today was another struggle day that the media saw. It included a pick 6 by Jalen Johnson off of Justin Fields. He jumped a route and took one to the house. And at the end of, and I'll read the quote here, but Justin Fields had media availability day, and he said I'm the type of guy that would like to know I'm prepared. So right now, I'm just being honest. We're not ready to play a game right now. When that time comes, we will be ready. But right now, we are not ready to play a game. And that's obviously, it's June. So, a new offense, a lot of new pieces, and that's probably fair to say, and you shouldn't expect them to say, hey, we're ready to play a game now, because we know they're not. So I think one of the bigger issues, though, I think the offense is going to gel out, but the one thing that is sticking out to me is that Sam Mustipher is still sitting at the right guard position with the first team offense. And that's a huge problem. And I don't know what the fix is, or some of these younger guys are still trying to find their way. But if Sam Mustipher is the starting right guard in week 1, I am not going to be thrilled. That dude is short, not long arms, very compact. That does not scream starting right guard in the NFL to me. Olin Kreutz would tell us different, but I'm going to have to disagree with big man right now. So, as it stands, the starting line at minicamp today was left tackle Braxton Jones, left guard Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick at center, Mustipher at right guard, and Larry Borum right tackle. Tevin Jenkins still with the twos. So, Nick, you look like you're thinking about something here, but I'm gonna spin it to you, and we'll go around the group again. But on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your worry about the offensive line, and are you worried about the Tevin Jenkins experience?
10 being the most worried?
Yeah, 10 being the most worried.
I'm at like a 5 or 6. I'm concerned, but like you said, it's June. However, with Jenkins, I'm really concerned. I mean, this is not, kind of when he was taken, what we anticipated the line to look like or what we expected with his development. And there's plenty of, time for that to change. And Eberflus has stated that just because some of the, rotation or depth chart has looked a certain way early doesn't mean that's how it'll look in August and September. But yeah, I mean, as I've seen these reports, I've certainly kind of started to question things and why the line still needs to look like that. And is it really going to be an issue? I mean, we've talked about the potential lack of weapons. That's one thing. But if there aren't great weapons, there aren't standout weapons, and you don't have a reliable line, that is just going to be another setback to Fields' development.
Yeah, and I don't know what the answer is. I mean, they're going to have to sign somebody. I mean, I don't know what's taking them so long. Maybe they just want to get through mini camp and see how the things fall into place here, but they're still not getting, maybe they are getting contact because they already got whacked for that, and had to miss an OTA, but, they're not finding who can block what and where and why, and there's still time for that, but I think they're going to have to bring in at least one more body that has some NFL playing experience that could possibly plug into that right guard spot at the most, because I know the guy sitting behind Mustipher is Dozier, and he ain't very good either. So there's a reason why he's bounced around to a few teams, and he played for the Vikings quite a bit, but it wasn't high quality snaps that he put out there. So as an offensive line guy, I'm at like a 7 because of Sam Mustipher. If Sam Mustipher wasn't in there and there was some other name that they signed off the street, I'd probably feel a little bit better about it. But I'm at a 7. How about you, Austin?
Oh, Matthias, you're the offensive line guy. If that's our week 1 offensive line, I'm probably like an 11 out of 10 concern. But it's a good thing Justin Fields is a really good athlete. So I'm going to trust that, between now and September, we'll figure something out. We'll get a rotation. I mean, how much can you really take from like these snaps at these mini camps? I'll reserve judgment until I see like, a preseason game or two. But so for right now, middle of the road, but it's a good thing Justin Fields is a good athlete.
Yeah.
Might be on the run a lot.
So you're saying Mike Glennon wouldn't thrive in this situation?
Mike Glennon wouldn't
he would
thrive
see
in
over
those
everything
situations.
at least.
If you put the Alabama offensive line in front of Mike Glennon, would he thrive, Aiden?
No. Because at the end of the day, he's still Mike Glennon.
He would have no problem seeing over everything.
Yeah, he could see everything on the field, but
the giraffe is running wild. All right, and what's your level of worry on the offensive line?
I'm kind of with Keeney on this one and taking it with a grain of salt because it's mini camp, and I hope we see things change before August and September. But I mean, if it doesn't, then I might be a little worried. But for now, I think let it play out, see what happens.
All right. Okay, one more.
What's yours at, Matthias? Did you say?
I'm at a 7. Just because if Sam Mustipher wasn't in there, I'd probably be at like a 5. But it just depends on what that name they replace with Sam Mustipher right now. If it's Dozier, I'm like still at a 7.
Because I know
Also,
that position group is the one you know best, essentially.
The what? Yeah. That's fat guy line. That's where we thrive is in trenches, man.
Another thing that I know is that Matthias worries about everything way too much. And if he's only at a 7 right now, it means I'm at like a 4.
I haven't fully tilted about it yet, so we know we're probably all right.
Yeah.
Or that means we should be worried more. If I'm not worried about it, then maybe we should be worried about it.
Exactly.
When we get to that level of when I'm not worried, that's when you should all start worrying. Anyway, Sam Mustipher needs to be punted into the sun, and we never see him again. We'll just put that out there. Have you guys ever seen like those those charts that they make with like the raw athletic scores or however they chart those things with like the 40s and things like that? Have you ever seen Sam Mustipher's? It's not great. I'm gonna see if I can find it really quick. What do they call it?
PFF?
Well, okay, here it is. You guys are going to laugh at this, and I know if anybody's listening on the podcast stuff later, you won't be able to see this, but we can just kind of talk through it here. But look at this. How bad this is. This is old Sam Mustipher. Raw athletic score of a 0.85.
That's not so good.
Oh my God.
40-yard dash is red. All these are reds. Like, so to explain this a little bit here is he has 2 colors on this chart. One is yellow and one is red. Yellow is just okay and red is very poor. And his weight is okay and his broad jump is okay. Everything else from height, 40-yard dash, 20-yard split, 10 yards bench, vertical broad or shuttle, and 3-yard cone is very poor. His arm length is 32.125. And I'm not sure what website this is, but it looks like you can probably go and search. But if you really got bored one day and want to go search and compare like Sam Mustipher to like other starting guards in the NFL, I'm sure it's going to be insanely different.
Yeah, can you show us like what does like Quentin Nelson look like?
Well, let's we'll search through the old Twitter here. I think I spelled that right. Fuck.
Jesus.
Hmm.
You can just go to their website.
Maybe.
I don't know what the website is. That's the problem.
Just
That might be
RAS.
QUENTON.
All right.
I'm sure his is a lot better.
We'll do one more other search. If I can find it really quick. All right, here it is. Oh God. So here's for comparison, Quentin Nelson, who's an all-pro right guard, probably one of the better guards in the league. He is his raw athletic score is 9.67. 9 points over, 9.1 points over. Starting right guard for the Chicago Bears right now, Sam Mustipher. Now, obviously, these charts don't really, translate to on-field production, but it also like just kind of puts things into perspective of what the Bears are dealing with right now with Sam Mustipher.
Hope he's a listener.
Do you want to? Could you find the side by side, Matthias?
Otherwise,
Otherwise,
you're asking
I
for
got
a
it.
lot for me under pressure right now.
Okay, I got it.
So, if Sam Mustipher is a listener, then he's definitely. Oh God. Look at that.
Oh no.
Unbelievable. If Sam Mustipher is actually a listener to this podcast, Olin Kreutz is going to come murder us all.
Well,
Because he probably told on us by now. God. That's what I'm saying. Like, just punt him, Sam Mustipher, into the sun and just walk away from it and just... I mean,
Act
a
like it
wet
never
paper
happened.
bag at this point would probably be better at right guard. Like, wouldn't it? It'd have to be.
It's
Good
got
Lord.
kind of a cool name though.
I mean, I'll give him that.
Mustafer is a cool last name.
I mean, when he came in, in 2020 and took over the center spot, like he was very serviceable. Like he's a guy that like knows what to do at each position. Like that's what you're gonna get out of him. Like in an emergency, he's probably gonna be fine. But if he's your everyday starter, like running into this thing, I'm out. I'm out.
You know who we need instead of Mustafer if we're talking cool names? We need to bring back Arlington Hambright.
Jesus.
That was the best name on our offensive line.
That dude was big too.
Yeah.
That dude was big. Well, one more real quick shot here on the minicamp stuff, but it sounds like we're hyping up Velus Jones Jr. really heavily here. Darnell Mooney really talking him up, talking how he's a guy that can fly, and he's kind of sounds like he's building a little bit of a rapport with Justin Fields and at least with Mooney as well. So I'm just excited to see what he can do in the pads. So let's just see what he can do at the NFL level, what they're going to have designed for him. Obviously, the offense needs to figure out something, but there's something there that these guys are really hyped about. So just something to keep our eyes on too. So we'll kind of work our way to wrapping this thing up here, but I kind of tasked everybody who does some writing for us a little bit, but since most of you guys are just strictly podcast guys, Austin does a little writing too, but
When I feel inspired.
When he feels inspired. So the task was for everybody who wanted to write was find your favorite Chicago Bear for the 2022 season. Tell us why and what you want to see from them in 2022, or kind of like a quick outlook of what their 2022 season would be. So, Nick, I mean, do you have a guy that you think is your favorite Bear for the upcoming season, and what do you think is going to be his 2022 season?
So this can be anybody,
Anybody.
No matter how big the name. Okay. Well, I think I'll go with, a guy that, geez, with the amount of players we've lost and traded, he might be my favorite or favorite player on the team. And I think he's a guy that needs to have a big season. I won't go with the obvious Cyclones answer. I'm going to go with Darnell Mooney. I think that there was – well, first, I think he had an incredible year last year. I mean, no matter how you put it, I really do believe that. I think that the rapport and kind of the chemistry with Fields is only going to go up. Obviously, we know that they're close, have been spending time together, even this offseason, which I think is awesome. And I'm a guy, just like on the last show, I've got faith in Pringle and faith in Jones. So I actually think Mooney is still going to get plenty of open looks and one-on-one coverage. And I'm going to say his year looks like 83 catches.
Goddamn.
17 games. So
yeah, that's true.
83 catches, 1,150 yards, and 7 scores. I think
how many yards did you say?
1,150.
Okay, I could dig it because what he had just over 1,000 last year.
I want to say like just over.
I could dig it. I mean, and you could probably say if you wanted to be safe, you could say, well, obviously Pringle's going to probably eat into that a little bit. Like if they didn't have Pringle, his yards are probably going to be higher than that. So
yeah.
And then you hope Cole Kmet obviously is a guy that takes a step forward and eats into that chunk a little bit too. But if those two combined with the 1,100 yards from Darnell Mooney, they're probably doing something okay. Austin, do you have anybody else other than your one that we're going to toss out tomorrow?
Yeah, shameless plug. I said it right when I feel inspired. I felt a little inspiration. How about Jackson Smith and Jigba when the Bears pick him in the first round next year?
Jesus.
I think he's going to win the Heisman for Ohio State this fall. He's going to ball out, and then he's going to join Justin Fields with the Ohio State connection. The name I picked was Matt Eberflus because I'm pretty confident that he's not going to call plays and isn't going to be in a weird power struggle with his offensive coordinator and just be like a professional head coach. So what do I expect from Eberflus? No hitch routes that go for 4 yards on 3rd and 7. Let the offense do their thing, coach up a good defense, and I don't know, lead the Bears through the start of their rebuild.
Perfect.
Fair.
Take it. You had me at no more hitch routes. That's all you had to say. All right, Aiden.
All right.
Now, this has to be a current Bear that's going to play on the 2022 team and not for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's a dumb rule. I don't know why you would say that.
Because Mitchell Trubisky does no longer play for the Chicago Bears and hasn't for over a year.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Anybody other than Mitchell Trubisky are you excited to watch in the 2022 season? Aiden.
You know, I'm pretty excited to see Velus Jones. He's probably my hard number 2, but number 1 has to be Justin Fields. I mean, he's the best athlete on the team. He's the most hope I've had for Chicago Bears quarterback since I've been alive, since most of us have been alive probably. And I think, we're hearing that he's taking all these steps forward, working on his mechanics. Obviously, he had the pick 6 today, which is whatever, I guess. But, I mean, if he's really going to take that step forward, this is the year to do it. And if he doesn't, when do we start looking at maybe Justin Fields not being the guy of the future that we thought he was going to be? So,
that just
which
painful to say.
Yeah, that would pretty much just tell us that the Bears are forever cursed, and we will never be happy.
Justin Fields could ultimately end up being a really, really great quarterback, but the Bears still could be ultimately cursed too.
That too, yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see Fields. If we have some weapons, maybe that a lot of people don't know about, he could go apeshit this year. Who knows?
I saw a really funny comment about Fields last year before the season started. Somebody had said, with any luck, Justin Fields would be the best quarterback we've ever had, and he might also be average.
Ouch.
Yeah. So it tells you all you need to know about our history.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, one thing which I'm pretty sure is pretty sad is that the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer.
Yep.
Which is pretty unheard of for any NFL team
in today's age.
Yeah.
Especially when guys like Mahomes and Allen and Rodgers are tossing out 5,000 yards like it's nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean, to see him flirt with a 4,000-yard season would be pretty big. And, God willing, he'll start all 17 games for us this year. Knock on wood. He should be in a pretty good spot with the weapons that we could potentially have if everything goes according to plan. But once again, if we win only 3 or 4 games, who knows what his stat line will look like.
I got a stat line for you, Aiden. 3,969 yards, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 500 yards rushing, and 4 touchdowns rushing. How about that?
I'd take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that all sounds great.
Yeah, that's got to be flirting with a wild card if we're doing that.
Oh no, the Bears are still gonna have the 5th overall pick.
Yeah.
No, with 500 on the ground too, that's a wild card team.
Robert Quinn is gone. The defense allows a ton of points, because a bunch of young guys. No, I don't know.
But the thing is, Luke Getsy, it's his first time as an OC. I think he was offense coordinator at West Virginia Wesleyan. So
hell yeah.
And Indiana of Pennsylvania.
He called plays at Mississippi State once.
Can I go to YouTube and find some game film of West Virginia Wesleyan?
If you search hard enough on the internet, you probably
he was at Mississippi State for a minute, but I mean, he has the keys to the offense. I think Eberflus trusts him. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have hired him in the first place from the Packers. But I mean, he's got some toys, so.
The thing that gives you kind of some confidence in that regard of him never calling plays, but like Matt LaFleur is kind of like that same. I mean, he did call some plays he didn't call any plays at Atlanta, but he did at Tennessee. So I mean, it's kind of like, he was just like he had a splash in the water there with OC at Tennessee, and then he became the head coach, obviously, with the Packers. But I mean, obviously he had some experience more than what Luke Getsy does. So. But I mean, if he had that somewhat of an experience in the preseason that Matt LaFleur said that he did, at least he has some bit of play calling history, I suppose. So obviously it's the preseason compared to the regular season and things are a lot different, but I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Let's see if he's actually going to play to the strengths of Justin Fields or not. I don't know. It'll all come together, and we'll probably all still be mad at the end of the day about it. So we'll just drink more beer, and let the party start. So, well, I think that pretty much sums it up. Sounds like we're gonna get some storms here in central Iowa, and again, like normal. So, hunker down, boys, and we'll try to convene again in about 2 weeks, and hopefully have some things to talk about. Trend camp's right around the corner too. Anybody got any final parting shots before we jump out? Doesn't sound like it. Go ahead.
Aaron Rodgers is dabbling in witchcraft now, and it's still not going to get him to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the blue? What's his girlfriend's name now? Blue Ivy or something. She's a witch. She's a witch and a healer.
Yeah, Goodell. Let's look into this.
Like,
yes, please. Send
he's
him to
dating.
jail
He's
or
dating
prison.
like a World of Warcraft carrier or not carrier, World of Warcraft player or something. He's a
So
healer and a witch.
Her name is Blue of Earth. Blue
Yep.
spelled BLU.
BLU, yeah.
Good Lord. I think that's something we could do. Something we can make fun of Aaron Rodgers for every week. Eventually, it will get picked up by Packer fans, but we could do it. So this week, we're making fun of Aaron Rodgers' new girlfriend. He's dating a witch.
We can do that next week and the week after that.
And then the week after that.
The week after that.
So, all right. For myself, Aiden, Nick, Austin, this has been the Bear With Us podcast. Make sure you like our page, subscribe to all the podcasts. I think Marty and Brian probably will have something out this week or next week, one of the two, but they'll have something rolling here. And we got some more content coming out on the written side of things. So be sure to check all that out, and we'll be back in about 2 weeks. So we'll see you guys then.